Hello and welcome to Buffy and the Art of Story. If you love the Buffyverse and you love creating stories or just taking them apart to see how they work, you're at the right podcast. Today I'll be talking about Angel, Season 1, Episode 8, I Will Remember You, where Buffy comes to Los Angeles, fights a demon with Angel, and both of them suffer surprising consequences. If you are looking for episodes about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you can find every episode by scrolling back in this podcast feed, or you can find them on YouTube or on my author website at lisalilly.com. And I am Lisa M. Lilly, author of supernatural thrillers, traditional detective mysteries, and the Writing as a Second Career books for fiction writers. Along with a recap of I Will Remember You, I'll talk about very strong and clear major plot turns for the main plot and Buffy's subplot. Seeing this story from Angel's point of view rather than Buffy's, what Angel's real motivations are and how that plays into the episode themes, and a rating of I Will Remember You on a scale of 0 to 10. As always, there will be no spoilers for Angel, the series, but I will reference from time to time all of Buffy. So if you have not watched the entire series, proceed with caution. Okay, let's dive into the Hellmouth, or maybe just Los Angeles. I Will Remember You aired the first time on November 23, 1999. It was directed by David Grossman and written by David Greenwalt and Janine Renshaw. I watched this or rewatched this for Angel before even looking at my notes from when I broke it down as part of season 4 of Buffy, and it was striking how different some parts of it seemed to me, having just watched the Angel episodes leading up to it. This is actually the third time I'm recording I Will Remember You. Once was as part of Buffy. The second time was a few weeks ago, and I did not realize until I edited that one of my cables was going bad. So by the time I got 3/4 through of editing, I realized I just could not use that recording at all. I had been trying to save it. So hopefully this one will be better, and I apologize for in previous episodes there were some times when the sound dropped a bit. I had thought it was an issue with my internet connection that I was trying to fix, and it turns out it was probably simpler than that and was the cable. I Will Remember You starts with a minor opening conflict. Angel winds an old-fashioned clock, sets it on his desk, and rolls a pencil across the desk to see if it's level. But Cordelia and Doyle watch from the outer office and talk about Angel. Cordelia says he seemed fine last night when he got back from Sunnydale, but she is worried. He saw Buffy, tracked her for 3 days. Where's the scowl, the morbid gloom? She concludes that his calm must mean it was worse than usual and says, batten down the hatches, here comes Hurricane Buffy. So much happening there. We get a very quick summary of the episode Pangs, the Thanksgiving episode, where Angel crossed over to Buffy. Obviously, Cordelia doesn't know what happened during it, but all we really need to know for purposes of Angel is that he saw Buffy for days. And then we get some foreshadowing about here comes Hurricane Buffy, since Buffy will arrive. Cordelia now panics when she sees Angel pick up a stake-like piece of wood. She and Doyle rush in, tell Angel not to do it. It's not worth it. But it turns out Angel is just using that stake to put under the desk to level it. Cordelia blames Doyle for jumping to conclusions about Angel's mood, but she does point out that Angel saw Buffy. Angel clarifies he was only there to protect Buffy and he stayed out of sight. Buffy never knew he was there. That surprises Cordelia. Angel says, look, Buffy's always going to be part of me, but she's human and I'm not. And that's also never going to change. We said our goodbyes. No need to stir any of this up again. So much foreshadowing here as well. Cordelia tells him that if her ex came to town and was stalking her in the shadows and left without even saying hello, I'd be. Buffy walks in and says, a little upset. She looks at Angel and adds, wouldn't you? And we go to credits. This interchange explains why I did not cover pangs again, because really Cordelia and Buffy have just expressed everything that we need to know, although it is a very fun Thanksgiving episode if you want to go back and listen. I returned from the credits after Buffy tells them she came to see her dad and thought she'd stop by. Cordelia says, well, this is Doyle and he gets visions of people in trouble. Doyle starts to say it's nice to meet Buffy, but Cordelia drags him out. Buffy is angry. She accuses Angel of playing games and tormenting her by coming to town and not letting her know. Angel says he wrestled with the decision, and Buffy says, which you made without me. More foreshadowing for how this episode, or at least the main plot, will end with Angel making a decision without Buffy. Angel tells her he tried to do what was right and it was complicated, and Buffy says, your new sidekick had a vision. I was in it. You came to Sunnydale, which is a great way to sum it up. She tells him a lot in her life changed. She's not in high school anymore, and she doesn't need him skulking around trying to protect her. Now, somewhere in here, we should see the story spark or inciting incident that gets the main plot rolling. And you could see that as Buffy simply coming to Los Angeles. If she didn't, we wouldn't have this story at all. You also need the demon that's going to burst in shortly. So I see it as a combination of those two things getting this plot rolling. For now, in the outer office, Cordelia grabs her purse. When he's not sure that they should leave the office, Cordelia says, oh, they'll be into this for a while. We still have time for a cappuccino and probably the director's cut of the Titanic. This is one of several time references already in this episode, starting with that clock. It is also fun to get Cordelia's take on the Buffy and Angel relationship. We got a hint of that in Room with a View, where Cordelia referred to not being a sniveling little cry Buffy. So we know she's a little impatient with the drama between these two. Buffy tells Angel that when he's around, whether she sees him or not, she feels it and it throws her. And he says it throws him too. Buffy responds, so let's just stick to the plan, keep our distance until a lot of time's passed. Given enough time, we should both be able to, and Angel says, forget. And Buffy says, yeah, so I'm going to go start forgetting. And she heads for the door. But a demon bursts through the window. It has a large, multifaceted ruby jewel in its forehead. Doyle pauses on the way out of the outer office, thinking maybe they ought to go help, but Cordelia tells him it's just the Buffy and Angel show. Quote, first they talk out their differences and then they punch them out, end quote. Which makes me wonder how much Cordelia was paying attention during season 2 and 3, because if she were, she'd know the fighting is when Angel loses his soul. But this does seem kind of in character for Cordelia. We saw throughout high school, she was not that interested in things that didn't involve her. In the episode where Buffy could read minds, that some of her thoughts were basically, what does this have to do with me? And I'm bored, I'm leaving. Buffy and Angel fight the demon. When Angel wounds it, its green blood runs onto his hand. Eventually, the demon gets away. There's a moment when Buffy and Angel are thrown to the floor. They're on top of each other, but they get up quickly and agree they should go kill the demon. They track it through the sewer tunnels, and they argue about weapons. Angel doesn't understand why she brought a stake, since it's not a vampire, and she makes fun of his fighting axe. Angel suggests he can handle this by himself, but Buffy says he bailed her out last night and she'd like them to be even. Angel responds, "We're keeping score now?" They keep going, they're quiet for a few moments, and Angel starts to look a little uneasy. When Buffy asks if he's okay, he says he feels a little weird. And Buffy says, "I know, I do too. I mean, I only came to see you so I can tell you face to face, not to see me face to face anymore. And I know there's a fly in that logic ointment somewhere, but the next thing I knew, we were being attacked by this mutant ninja demon thing. And then we're on the floor on top of each other. And it's just really confusing being around you." Angel, though, responds, "No, I meant I felt weird from the demon's blood. It's powerful." This reminded me so much of the episode Angel in season 1, where Buffy thinks that Angel, who has been hiding in her room during the day, read her diary, and she bursts out with all these things, and it turns out he did not. As they keep hunting through the tunnels, Angel tells her it is confusing and it's easier when they're apart. It hurts every day, but it's easier. Having her there is more confusing. He says it's unbearable. And Buffy says, "But we have to bear, right?" As she's saying it doesn't work when they're together, the two step closer to one another. He says he can't give her a life or a real future. They have to stay apart no matter what they feel. Now they are closer still, but agree that nothing's changed. And Buffy says we'd only end up having to leave each other again. And as with the earlier dialogue, this both brings in exposition and it foreshadows the heartbreaking conclusion of the episode. And that is how you build a final twist ending that is surprising, but inevitable. We are building it from the very first moments of this episode and from Buffy's and Angel's first interactions. And Angel says, "And that's the best case scenario." Buffy responds, "Boy, I was really jonesing for another heartbreaking sewer talk." This refers to the prom where Angel broke up with her in a sewer, and her tone shifts to a bit of anger. Angel apologizes. She tells him she's on the brink of something good at home now that he says, out of the picture, and he tells her that's why he left. Buffy now just wants to find this demon and get this finished. Around a quarter way through the episode, they see a metal ladder that runs up the side of the tunnel into the sunlight. Buffy says, "What if the demon went up?" Angel can't follow there, but Buffy can. He doesn't want her to go after the demon alone, but she tells him it's best all around if they split up. And this not wanting her to go alone hints at some issues Angel may have. He will talk later about Buffy protecting him, but he is the one, I think, who finds it difficult to not be able to go with her and, if not protect her, join her. Angel tells her about a place where demons go to get patched up, since that demon was injured, and tells her be careful. She climbs up into the sunlight, a great visual metaphor for their whole relationship and why it doesn't work, because he cannot join her there. The demon, though, is still in the tunnels. It stalks Angel. They fight again. It slashes his hand and Angel bleeds. He vamps out, and a little way past a quarter through the episode is the first major plot turn, because Angel kills the demon. More of its blood drips onto him and into the cut on his hand, and he falls to his knees, seeming like he is in pain, and cries out. This reminded me so much of Surprise and Innocence, where Angel lost his soul. And the first time I ever watched this episode, I was afraid that's what was happening. A glowing light rises up from him. He is breathing hard, and he hears his own heartbeat. Angel looks shocked and says, "I'm alive." And we cut to a commercial. Talk about a great hook and a great first major plot turn coming from outside of Angel and spinning this story in a completely new direction. When Cordelia and Doyle return to the office, they see the wreckage. Angel comes in looking stunned. Cordelia warns Doyle not to get too close to him because he seems so different. He moves over to stand in the sunlight coming through the window, and Doyle tells Cordelia Angel is alive. Angel explains about the demon and the blood. He wants to find out what kind of demon it was, and then he pauses and groans. His back hurts. He says everything's more, and Doyle says, more real now that you're real. This is a great way to show this change for Angel and that he is not used to his body hurting. Sure, as a vampire, he has gotten injured and occasionally has showed that he feels some pain, but this is very different. For now, though, we quickly shift into another human experience. Angel is hungry and he dives for the fridge and tries all different kinds of food, saying he forgot how good it tasted when he was alive. And Cordelia says, yeah, they didn't even have cookie dough mint chip in your day. And Angel says, oh, I want some of that. Doyle tells him to focus. Angel tries to, but now his stomach is killing him. He tells Cordelia to find Buffy, but only tell her he killed the demon, not what's happened to Angel. He needs to know what it means first. After she leaves, Doyle finds Mora demons in a book. They are powerful demon assassins, quote, soldiers of darkness kind of thing. They take out warriors for our side like you and Buffy, end quote. They need a lot of salt to survive. Their veins run with the blood of eternity, meaning their blood has regenerative properties. As Doyle talks, Angel notices his reflection in the glass for the first time, and he touches it. And he says that explains what happened to him, but not why. Doyle asks why it matters. Angel is happy, but Angel needs to know what's going on. Doyle thought the only way Angel could be made mortal was if the powers that be did it, but he waffles when Angel wants to know more about them. Doyle finally admits he's not telling Angel everything. They're both on a need-to-know basis. Angel says, I need to know about this. He wants to know if it's permanent, if he's a normal Joe now and can have a normal life. Doyle tells him the powers that be can only be approached through dangerous channels, and Angel tells him to start approaching. Doyle says they could try the oracles, but hey, if they turn you into a toad, don't say I didn't warn you. The scene cuts to an underground stone chamber. Angel translates the inscription over the archway saying the gateway for lost souls is under the post office. Doyle can't come with because he's a lowly messenger while Angel is a warrior. When he gets through the archway, Angel sees the oracles. They look like a man and a woman. They wear dark togas and their skin is gold. The male calls Angel a lower being, and both are unhappy Angel brought no offering. He takes off his watch and it flies into the woman's hand. She says, I like time. There's so much and so little of it. The male scoffs when Angel asks if the powers that be made him human. Did Angel save humanity, avert the apocalypse? They confirm he's not poisoned or under a spell. He can live and die as human with all the attendant pains and pleasures. He's released from his fealty. They turn their backs, and when Angel asks if he's free, the female waves her hand and Angel's thrown out. Doyle catches him and thinks Angel wasn't allowed inside at all, as no time passed for him. Angel's confused, and Doyle says, look at your watch. Angel responds, I can't do that, Doyle. Next time, remind me to bring a gift. This quick exchange lets us know that time is different for the oracles. Angel tells Doyle that it's overwhelming to have his whole life spread out before him. He can do whatever he wants. And Doyle says, so the question is, what do you want? The scene cuts to a beach. Buffy walks toward the water. She senses something and turns around and sees Angel striding through an archway into the sun. She looks puzzled, then shocked. He reaches her and they kiss, and the Buffy Angel theme music plays. It always makes me cry. And we cut to commercial, another amazing hook. This is also a strong midpoint commitment by Angel. We often see the protagonist throwing caution to the wind at the midpoint. When I broke this down before, seeing it more from Buffy's point of view, I don't think I quite grasped what a commitment this is for Angel, because from the moment he turned human, he questioned, what does it mean? Is it permanent? How long will it last? Am I really off the hook with the powers? Can I live a normal life? He asked Doyle over and over. He asked the oracles more than once. So to reach for Buffy, to kiss Buffy, is to embrace, yes, I am human. I can have what I want. If you like the way I talk about story and want to apply it to your own writing, you might find my book, Super Simple Story Structure, a quick guide to plotting and writing your novel, helpful. It is available in ebook, workbook, and audiobook formats. And you can find it at writingasasecondcareer.com, along with all my other books on writing. Or you can sign up to get free story structure worksheets at writingasasecondcareer.com/story. On return from a commercial, we close up on that clock on Angel's desk again. It seems like just an establishing shot to bring us back to Angel's office, but at the end of the episode, we'll see how significant that clock is. Cordelia's in the outer office picking at a plant she claims was thriving just this morning. She blames Buffy. Things are about to get terrible. Angel and Buffy are in Angel's apartment. When Doyle says, don't they deserve a little happiness, Cordelia explains, they suffer, they fight. That's business as usual. They get groiny with one another. The world as we know it falls apart. Doyle points out that Angel's not cursed anymore, and Cordelia can't be sure that they're, and Cordelia says, oh, please, they've got the forbidden love of all time. They've been apart for months. Now he's suddenly human. I'm sure they're down there just having tea and crackers. The scene cuts to Angel pouring more tea for Buffy. A great ironic cut. And Cordelia's lines once again through minor conflict with Doyle, who wants to be happy for Angel and Buffy, revealing to the audience more about the Buffy and Angel history and more foreshadowing of devastation to come. Buffy and Angel sit across from each other at the long ends of his kitchen table, and this is a big reversal for Buffy. Much as in the episode Angel in season 1 of Buffy, the one where Buffy learned that Angel was a vampire, we had a main plot for Buffy and a subplot for Angel, and their plot turns mostly coincided. It is similar here, and this for Buffy is a midpoint reversal. So that is the other thing we'll see at a strong midpoint for a protagonist. And in her story, after Angel kisses her, now they are sitting far apart, and Angel says he is sorry for kissing her. And Angel clarifies not for the kiss, and Buffy says good, because as far as kisses go, I thought it was well above average. Angel says it was incredible, but he stumbles a bit as he says they might be asking for trouble rushing into things. Buffy grabs her tea mug as he talks. She holds it in both hands, looking unhappy, and they both discuss there could be another loophole. It would be smart to wait a while. And Angel adds Buffy's still the Slayer. Angel's not sure what he is. This quick comment by Angel that he's not sure what he is reveals what I see as the heart of the challenge here for him in being human. He is going to mostly talk about protecting Buffy and the world, and I believe those are very important to him. But this question of who is Angel, if he is not the vampire with a soul, is a major one that runs throughout the episode and his decisions. My heart breaks for Buffy as he goes on about not knowing his purpose and how it wouldn't be fair to wedge himself into her Sunnydale life. She just started college. And if Buffy had to worry about him when slaying, she might not be as focused. And Buffy says, "Are you going to pull out a pie chart on me? Because I get it. It's not necessary." Angel shifts his chair closer to her, and she looks away as he tells her he's not saying he doesn't want her, just that it's worth the wait to know it's right. He says, "I need to be sure you won't get hurt again." This is an echo of the prom where he was the one pulling back because he couldn't give her the future or the normal life he is sure that she'll want. Buffy reacts at first, much like she did in the prom, and says, "It's a good thing I didn't fantasize about you turning human only about 10 zillion times." She gets up and walks to the counter, her back to him, and adds, "'Cause today would have been a real letdown." This is where the difference between their life experiences really shows, and I do not think I saw that when I watched it having come from all the Buffy episodes rather than seeing the Angel episodes that lead to this. It is paternalistic that he's saying, "I don't want to hurt you again," moving toward the idea of almost making this decision for her or telling her what's good for her. But he is looking at the big picture, and it really is not that he doesn't want Buffy, but Buffy understandably sees it initially so personally. You can tell she feels so rejected by Angel, and this idea that she fantasized about this, no doubt Angel has as well, but his 100 plus, 200 plus years of life makes it less difficult for him to wait a little while, a day, a week, a month, is a very short time compared to a couple 100 years plus of life. For Buffy, that is much longer. She is about 19 here. It is more challenging, I have to think, for her to be able to contemplate that idea of waiting and looking more at the big picture. And I think that the reference in the beginning to her not being in high school anymore is purposeful. It is a reminder that Buffy is still very close to high school. She is still young. Actually, she's probably only 18. This is the beginning of college, where Angel has centuries of life and a much different perspective. My heart breaks for Angel as well, because we have just watched how much he struggled after leaving her, how much he still broods and feels sad, that compulsion to drink human blood and how hard that was for him, the way he was trying to help people. But Doyle pointed out he was really teetering on the edge, and we saw it. He vamped out involuntarily in episode 1 when the woman that he helped, when he was too close to her and smelled her blood, he had to get away from her. So this was so difficult for Angel, and it is not just about getting over Buffy, which was enough. It was about he drank her blood so that he wouldn't die. She more or less forced him to, and then he had to overcome that again as well. And it was Doyle who got him to rejoin humanity, to stop isolating. So with all that context, I am also feeling so much for Angel, who is struggling here as much as Buffy is, but with additional reasons. Buffy, though, does step into that larger perspective. She takes a breath, she turns around, she looks more calm and asks how the mature plan goes. They agree they'll stay in touch. She starts to walk away, saying it's better to, and Angel says, remove the temptation. Buffy turns back, says they'll talk soon, and she rests her hand very lightly on his, and they both look at their hands, then lift them, still touching, and kiss. And in a second, they're against the refrigerator. Then Angel sweeps everything off the table, and they kiss, and the scene fades to the sunset. The scene cuts to Angel at the refrigerator. He's naked but hidden by the open door, and Buffy is calling out for peanut butter, preferably crunchy. In bed, they feed each other chocolate, peanut butter, and ice cream. Buffy looks so happy, and she says, "This is a dream. You're human for like a minute, and already there's cookie dough fudge mint chip in the fridge." He asks why she never told him about peanut butter and chocolate, and she says she figured it would be cruel when he couldn't appreciate it. Though it's interesting because we know that Spike loves food. I'm slipping into how does this fit in the Buffyverse. Spike still really appreciates food, especially those onion blossoms at the Bronze. I'm assuming his taste buds, too, are not as strong as when he was human, but maybe just because Spike retains a lot more of his humanity as a vampire than Angelus did, he also still appreciates eating. Buffy tells Angel she's over being mature. The time he was in the kitchen was enough time apart. Angel smiles, and this is probably the most we have seen him smile ever, and says, "Too much." At a bar, Cordelia laments to Doyle that she is out of a job. She puts her head on her arm and says, "What am I going to do? I'm good for exactly two things: international superstardom and helping a vampire with a soul to rid the world of evil." That makes for a short but colorful resume. Doyle is just glad to be rid of the bone-crushing, head-wrenching, mind-numbing visions, so of course one hits. It's of a Mora demon. In bed, Buffy listens to Angel's heart, and she tells him she is so sleepy, but she wants to stay awake so this day can keep happening. Angel tells her it's late and adds, "We'll make another one just like it tomorrow." More building of that surprising but inevitable twist. There will be another day, this exact day tomorrow, but it will not be just like this. Buffy tells him this is the first time she ever really felt this way, just like I've always wanted to, like a normal girl falling asleep in the arms of her normal boyfriend. It's perfect. Buffy telling him this explains a lot about why in another moment Angel will not wake Buffy up. I'm not sure if I grasped that as much when I broke this down as part of Buffy, the series, but I can see now that he wants to give her at least this one day and night. There will always be things that will interfere with her sense of being a normal girl, but for just this night, he wants to leave that undisturbed. When he hears Doyle come in, he goes into the living room and they talk. Doyle tells him the Mora demon didn't only regenerate Angel, it regenerated itself. He saw it in a tunnel where Angel fought it, then in a factory, and he thought he tasted salt. The demon is very much alive and angry. Angel says he'll have to kill it again, and when Doyle reminds him he's human now and the powers released him, Angel says, "You want to let that thing roam free?" A great illustration of how Angel still is committed to this mission and to protecting people, despite that he doesn't have the same strength. He tells Doyle there's a saline plant in Redondo and the demons need salt to live, so they'll start there. They can figure out on the way how to kill it so it can't regenerate. He tells Doyle to grab the book about the demon, and Angel will drive while Doyle reads. Doyle suggests they should bring someone a little supernatural. Angel glances at Buffy and Doyle says, "Don't you want to wake the girl?" Angel answers, "Not for the world." Such a great line, both figurative and literal. We've all said in response to something like, "No, I wouldn't do that for all the world." Also, Angel literally, even to save the world, he is not going to wake Buffy tonight. Outside the factory, Doyle, holding the book, tells Angel if he kills the demon, it will come back stronger. So once again, he wants to go get Buffy. and neither of them realize the demon is watching from the shadows. Angel argues that if it's going to work with Buffy, he has to be able to do these things on his own. He can't risk her life every time a minion of hell shows up. A signal that Angel is still struggling with how to live life as a human, because he knows Buffy does sometimes fight with humans. Willow, Xander, Giles. So it's not out of the question that he could work with Buffy as a human and not have to be able to take demons on all by himself. But he's had, a few hours to sit with this, so he clearly is not seeing yet what or how this could work. He is trying to act as if he is still the vampire with the soul, or at least to figure out how to function without Buffy. Doyle tells him the book says to kill a Mora demon, one must bring darkness to 1,000 eyes. Doyle says, just remember, it's brutal, deadly, and Doyle glances up and says, here. About 32 minutes into the episode, the demon leaps down. Angel sword fights with it. Doyle joins and gets knocked out. Angel still has his fighting skills, we can see that, but each time he's knocked down, he is hurt more and he staggers away. We're moving toward the last major plot turn that should grow from the midpoint, spin the story in a new direction, and raise the stakes. And you could see it as Angel confronting that demon, but now we are going to see what sends Buffy into the fight as well. The scene cuts to Cordelia. She's putting Post-its on things in the office to sell everything to fund her non-existent retirement plan. Buffy walks in. She's dressed. Cordelia tries to avoid telling Buffy where Angel is, and eventually says, has it even occurred to you to think about how this whole turning human thing might affect me? Buffy responds regrettably, no. Cordelia keeps stalling and then admits that Angel told her not to tell Buffy. Buffy asks if he's in trouble. Cordelia won't answer, and Buffy says, Cordelia, what are we, in second grade here? Tell me. And Cordelia says, oh, you want to talk about being mature? Maybe it's time you grew up and realized that you can't have everything. You can't have Angel and save the world. And anyway, it is your fault that he went to fight that thing by himself without, and she stops, realizing she said too much. So this is what sends Buffy after Angel. And now that I've talked about that, I think the turn really is Angel fighting the demon, because that is what raises the stakes here and brings us into the part of the episode where Angel is face to face with what being human means in terms of fighting evil. The scene cuts to Angel and the demon fighting. They fall into an underground area, sort of like a giant well. The demon puts a foot on Angel's neck and says, the end of days has begun and can't be stopped. For any one of us that falls, 10 shall rise. The demon lifts his sword, about to bring it down on Angel, but Buffy jumps in from above and grabs a sword and says, you hurt my boyfriend. She fights well, but at one point the demon throws her against the wall, then grabs her by the throat and says, together you were powerful, alone you were dead. Angel grabs some salt. The demon goes on to Buffy, what do you think of the great warrior now? Angel runs at the demon, throws the salt and says, a little bland needs salt. The demon cringes at the salt in its eyes and drops Buffy, but it regroups, fights off Angel, who's on the ground again, and grabs Buffy once more. Angel sees the light glinting off that multifaceted jewel in the demon's head, says to himself, 1,000 eyes. Buffy's gotten away. She's fighting again. Angel yells to her that she has to smash the jewel. So very much like Xander or Giles or Willow helping fight with Buffy, giving her the information she needs. Buffy grabs a ball on a chain, swings it around, and flings it at the demon. It hits his head and breaks the jewel. Light shoots out of him in all directions, and he disintegrates. Buffy runs to Angel, who is on the ground in terrible pain. She holds him, tells him he's all right. That's all that matters. It's over and they're together. So that ends the action part of the plot. But the main plot continues because that is really Angel versus himself, or you could say Angel versus Destiny. The scene cuts to Angel visiting the oracles again. He tells them the Mora demon said the end of days had begun, that others were coming, soldiers of darkness. And they confirm that as far as such things can be known, it is true. He asks what happens to the Slayer when that happens, and the female responds, what happens to all mortal beings, albeit sooner in her case. Angel begs for her life. The male tells him it's not their place to grant life and death. Angel says, then I ask you to take mine back. Look, I can't protect her or anyone this way, not as a man. At first, when they realize he wants to be a vampire with a soul again, the male says, it's a matter of love and doesn't concern them. But Angel argues it does. The Mora demon took a warrior from their cause. The male tells him what's done can't be undone, but the female points out what is not yet done can be avoided. The male tells her temporal folds are not to indulge the whims of lower beings. The female responds, you are wrong. This one is willing to sacrifice every drop of human happiness and love he's ever known for another. He is not a lower being. The oracles tell him they can swallow the day as if it never happened. Angel will need to remember to stop the demon this time. And the female says, you alone will carry the memory of this day. Can you carry that burden? We don't see Angel make the decision, but that is the climax. Angel, or at least his need or desire to be a warrior, prevailing over Angel and his love for Buffy and deep wish to be human. And it is a Pyrrhic victory because he will now lose Buffy. The protagonist prevails, but at an unbearable cost. Now we're in the falling action where we tie up loose ends and resolve any subplots. The reason I say this is falling action is because there are no decisions left to be made. The main conflict is over, though Angel still needs to deal with the fallout, as does Buffy. Though for her, this is the climax of her subplot. The scene cuts to a clock on the wall. It is near 9 o'clock. Buffy paces, and now we know why clocks are so important. Angel comes downstairs to the apartment, tells her he went to see the oracles, so she didn't even know where he was or where he went, and tells her he asked them to turn him back. She is shocked and asks why. Angel says, because more than ever, I know how much I love you. And if I stay mortal, one of us will end up dead, maybe both of us. He tells her that the Mora said more are coming. Buffy argues that more always come. It's her problem now, but he won't let her fight and maybe die alone, and says, if anything, he's a liability to her. He says, you take chances to protect me, and it's not just bad for you, it's bad for the people we were meant to help. And Buffy says, so what? You just took 24 hours to weigh the ups and downs of being a regular Joe and decided it was more fun to be a superhero? Angel tells her, you know that's not it. How can we be together if the cost is your life or the lives of others? The Buffy and Angel theme plays again. He holds her and tells her he couldn't tell her ahead of time. He wasn't sure he could do it if he woke up with her one more morning. She's crying and says she understands. He explains about the oracles taking back the day, and when Buffy asks when, he tells her another minute, and she says, a minute? No, it's not enough time. How am I supposed to go on with my life knowing what we had, what we could have had? He tells her she won't know, it never happened. She insists it did and says, I felt your heartbeat. They kiss. She turns and sees only seconds left and says, "Oh God, it's not enough time." And she says, "I'll never forget," and repeats that 3 times. And there's a flash. Angel squeezes his eyes shut and open, and he is now in his office. It's daytime. Buffy stands before him and says the line she said in the beginning. "So then let's just stick to the plan. Keep our distance until a lot of time's passed. Given enough time, we should both be able to." And Angel says, "Forget." And he whispers and he looks odd, and Buffy says, "Yeah, so I'm gonna go start forgetting." If you enjoy traditional detective mysteries, especially ones featuring female protagonists, you might want to check out the ebook box set of the first 3 mysteries in my QC Davis series. 3 gripping mysteries, 1 relentless detective. Meet Quill C. Davis, Chicago attorney, private investigator, and a woman driven by justice and grief. In this powerful box set, follow Quill through her first 3 unforgettable cases as she uncovers long-buried secrets, faces down ruthless killers, and risks everything to protect the people she loves. Smart, suspenseful, and deeply emotional, these mysteries feature an unforgettable female sleuth and vivid Chicago settings, perfect for fans of psychological suspense and complex crime fiction. Start the QC Davis series now with this value-packed box set and discover why readers can't put it down. The demon bursts in. Angel kills it quickly, shattering the jewel. Buffy is stunned and asks how he knew how to kill it. He tells her it's a Mora demon. He's had a lot of time to catch up on his reading. Buffy says, "Yeah, okay, so I guess we've covered it, right?" Angel says, "We did." And Buffy says, "And that's all there really is to say." Angel takes a breath. He looks like he wants to say something, but he glances at the floor where the clock from his desk is lying shattered and says, "Yeah." Buffy's already walked out, and to himself he says, "That's it." This plot is so strong. It has all those major plot turns that keep this story moving and escalating. Each time you think something resolved, there are more questions, there's another twist, and it has so much emotion. We get some backstory from Cordelia for those who don't know it or need a reminder, but just Buffy and Angel together, we see how they struggle in that sewer tunnel, how they are drawn to one another. Everything they say is grounded in their past and foreshadows this climax, both for Buffy, where she is trying to say to Angel, no, not knowing he's already made this decision, and for Angel making that choice, going to the oracles. It foreshadows all of that, and it foreshadows that Angel has to go through all of this again. They do have to leave each other again. It's everything that he was cautious about, everything he was afraid of, and so much harder because he felt so happy. This stands out from recent Angel episodes because Angel, much more quickly than Buffy, moved to significant parts of each episode being about a longer season arc. Here we have a complete episode that both works on its own and draws from all the prior history of the characters, and that will have to have a major effect on Angel going forward. And whether you come to it as part of Angel, or as we did a couple seasons ago, come to it from Buffy's point of view, it is such a strong, moving story. Moving on to theme, there are a few themes here. The episode highlights the importance of a mission warring with the desire for a human life, for a normal life. It is much like Buffy's own arc through the entire series of first being thrust into the role of the Slayer. She doesn't choose it, but eventually embracing it, yet still trying to struggle to have that normal life, to love someone, to be loved, to have friends. Angel's experience in this episode is almost all of that encapsulated. Now, Angel has not tried to have a normal life, so to speak, a normal human life, because that was foreclosed to him. And now suddenly in this one episode for this 124-hour period, not quite the whole 24 hours, that is an option for him. And he feels some of the hard parts. He feels the pain and the injury and the inability to fight, or inability to fight the way he did before, his fears of being helpless before evil. And the wonderful parts, the joy of tasting food again, of making love with Buffy, of loving Buffy, and just being happy about it without all the caveats and concerns. And then he has to lose it. So it is all in this concentrated time. And it really hits that question of duty or obligation, but more than that, because Angel isn't really acting out of obligation. He is choosing. He was released from his obligation, and he is choosing to be a warrior again. It is a key theme in life, that balance of a mission or a vocation and a personal life, only pushed to the extreme. And then there are questions of protection. Angel speaks to the oracles and to Buffy about they can't be together at the cost of Buffy's life, that he wants to trade his life for her. And yet we also see throughout the episode that it is a question of Angel does not know who he is if he is not a warrior. And ultimately, I don't think his decision comes from, I don't know what else I'll do. I don't mean to make it sound that way. Ultimately, in the short time that he has to contemplate it, Angel concludes that who he is a warrior. He cannot go forward as a human without that same ability to fight, to protect not just Buffy, but the world. Because really, Buffy does not have him to protect her on a day-to-day basis. She is going to go forward on her own without his help. But if she is there, he wants to be fighting at her side. He wants to be able to protect her, and he is not comfortable with her protecting him. I think he's okay with that when it can be a mutual. Sometimes she protects him, sometimes he protects her. They protect each other. But he is not okay with her taking risks, and he cannot be equal partner. Is that the main reason he makes the decision? I don't know, but it raises some interesting questions about who Angel is and can he be in a relationship with Buffy at the cost of that mission or his purpose or vocation. When he finds out from Doyle that the Mora demon is back, he goes to kill it, not because at that time he thinks it is a threat to Buffy, but he cannot let that demon be out in the world. Yes, he protects Buffy in that he doesn't wake her up. He's not willing to ruin that perfect day and perfect moment of going to sleep feeling like a normal girl, but he is motivated mainly by he knows that demon is out there and he is not going to let it go. Some of these themes echo or are similar to Buffy's choice in Helpless when she thinks she has lost her Slayer powers to go into the mansion to save her mother. That is more of a personal thing. She's not going to let her mom die. But also, when Buffy thinks in that episode that she doesn't have her Slayer powers, it is very difficult for her. And I see it as one of those times when Buffy realizes that while she didn't choose to be the Slayer, she wouldn't want to walk around the world knowing what's going on and unable to fight. And that is what Angel is faced with. There are also themes of love. What is great love? Because Angel does act out of his love for Buffy, and his love is strong enough that if being with her will hasten her death, because he doesn't know when it would be, the oracle's time frame, who knows what it means that Buffy will die sooner than others. That is almost certainly true, regardless. But if it will make her death sooner than it would otherwise be, he will sacrifice his personal happiness so that she has a longer life. And in a way, he did that in the prom. He broke up with her, though he might have wanted to stay for his own purposes, but he knew it was better for Buffy to leave and step out of her life. Now, whether he should have made either of these decisions without her is really questionable, but certainly the prom laid the groundwork. And there are stronger reasons in this one, because here it is not so much Angel choosing to end the relationship. It is Angel choosing what he will do with his life. And ultimately, that is his choice to make, though it does obviously affect Buffy. There are some themes here about the relationship, though, because Angel tells Doyle if it's going to work with Buffy, he has to be able to do these things on his own. Well, does he? For Angel, the answer is yes, apparently. And who knows if he had had more time to consider it. Some humans can fight demons. Giles does it now with Buffy, but Doyle is half demon. Doyle has strengths. Angel has a team. Maybe he could be a demon fighter later in Buffy. We don't know it yet at this point in Buffy the series, but we'll see Robin Wood, who does fight vampires, though he is human. So Angel could do some amount of fighting on his own, but he doesn't really have the time to sort out how that could work and if it would work. And then the Mora demon basically tells him there will be more Mora demons, and the oracles confirm, so he really does not have the chance to see how that would work with Buffy. How could he fit in her life? I do think it's a real thing, though, that he can't see himself going back to Sunnydale and being one of Buffy's team. And it's interesting because I think Riley faced some similar things, but was far less self-aware that he needed to sort out who was he in his life, what was his life's purpose. It could have been maybe fulfilled while working with Buffy, but he never really grappled with that until the choice was thrust upon him to go back in the military. And even then, he framed it as Buffy's choice. That's something that just occurred to me. I may explore that a bit more and potentially do a bonus episode on this comparison of Angel and Riley, but Angel certainly had far less time to consider that. And there are themes here about maturity. Buffy talks about the mature plan. She talks about not being in high school anymore. Cordelia says, you want to talk about being mature, you can't have everything. Is that part of maturity? I guess you could argue that adulthood does require making choices. Not that children and adolescents don't have to make choices as well. They do. But typically, adulthood presents some more difficult and challenging choices. In this episode, Angel has to make them. It is his show after all. But there is intertwining here between maturity and the ability to look at that larger picture and to perhaps make choices that are against your interests in certain ways because it is better either for the other person or for the world as a whole. Moving on to characters, only Angel and Buffy take a real journey here. And Angel is the one who has the most compelling arc. And I have not mentioned it yet, but it is not just because of Buffy that Angel's choices are difficult. He has wanted to not have this curse, to not be a vampire. It is something that was thrust upon him. When Darla turned him, she promised to show him the world. He wanted that, but he did not know that she was a vampire. And then the soul was returned to him as a curse. So he has wanted to be free of all of that, and yet he embraces it again. So there is this journey in this episode of being offered everything he wanted and having to give it back. And in some ways, it is part of a journey Angel started long before when he was human the first time. We saw Liam, who we don't know that much about, but he didn't seem someone very concerned with other people's feelings. Angel, this time as a human, acts out of love, out of a sense of purpose. He embraces a mission. So Angel has had a very long arc and became a far better person. And we see the results of that in his choices here. So let's move on to world building. The episode is written so that you do not need to have watched Buffy at all. And if for some reason you were a huge Buffy fan and you didn't watch I Will Remember You, maybe because you weren't watching Angel, you could still continue to watch Buffy without it. You would not need to have watched this. I think it adds so much to know that this happened to Buffy, though she doesn't remember it, but you really don't need to. And yet, it is such a moving episode, and it is key to Angel going forward. Leading up to this, Cordelia and Doyle were concerned about Angel brooding, isolating, spending too much time alone in the dark. And now you can only imagine what their concerns will be if they find out that Angel went through this. I've already talked about in the breakdown the ways that it fits in both the Buffy and Angel lore. There are many callbacks to the prom, to Angel, the episode, to all of their relationship without overloading it at all with dialogue. It is significant for the world building as well that Angel makes a choice here, because up to this point, somewhat like Buffy, he was drafted into the fight against evil. Whistler came to him when he was living in an alley, dining on rats, and he showed him the Slayer. And yes, Angel made a choice to go to Sunnydale to try to help Buffy to meet her. At the same time, his options at that moment didn't seem great. Living in the alleys, he had not found a good way to exist in the world. So it doesn't seem like it would have been that hard of a choice to go see Buffy. Then in LA, he was better than living in alleys. He was trying to hunt vampires and help people, but he was struggling and teetering on the edge, very much in danger of feeding on humans again. So when Doyle appeared and pushed him toward working with Doyle for the powers that be, yes, it was a choice, but very weighted on the side of helping Doyle, and really what Doyle was doing fit with Angel's goals. And then there is the issue that he never chose to have the soul. But this time, with this episode, Angel could choose to be human. Even knowing what he knows, he could have chosen to stay human, to hope that end of days wasn't coming soon, that he could find a way to help Buffy, and that Buffy might subvert that prophecy. We saw Buffy in Prophecy Girl live despite the Master killing her and subverting that prophecy, and we have seen Buffy do that more than once. So Angel could have taken that chance. Now, he wasn't going to with Buffy's life, but it was a choice, and he did embrace his mission. And I think that's part of why we see multiple motives here for Angel. It is not just to protect Buffy. It is that he is a warrior who wants to be in this fight in the most effective way he can. And that really matters for Angel, the series, that he embraced that going forward. So we have a hero who chose to be a hero. Last, my rating of this episode, probably not a surprise, given everything I said about this strong plot, how moving it is, the emotions, the characters, what it means for Angel, the series. I give this a 10 out of 10. And also for Buffy's subplot for the emotional journey we see her going on. It is Angel's show, but Buffy has such a compelling story as well. So that is it for I Will Remember You. Thank you so much for listening. Come back next time for Season 1, Episode 9, Hero, where Angel and Doyle strive to save a helpless demon clan from a stormtrooper-like army of pure blood demons. You can find back episodes of Buffy and the Art of Story, as well as the Buffy and the Art of Story books and all my fiction at lisalily.com. To support the podcast, hear extra bonus content, and get each regular episode a few days early, join the Patreon community at patreon.com/Lisa M. Lilly. That's Lisa, M as in Marie, Lilly. Music for this episode was written and performed by Robert Newcastle. Buffy and the Art of Story is a production of Spiny Woman LLC. Copyright 2025. All rights reserved.